or is Steve Price starting to look like a thin Peter Gentle? Both have no chin, so
It could be. Phil Naden says Saints were just great. I think they were just teasing Warrington in the first half and just went to town in the last 40. Not sure who's going to beat them.
yeah, because the score was only 8-6 at half time, so a few people have picked up on that. And Saints seem to be steadying the way into games, then absolutely tearing it apart when it opens up in the second half. I mean, in this one in particular, it went from 14-12 after 53 minutes to the 30-12 at the end. So, in
Yeah,
a 25-minute spell, they racked up, what, one, two, three tries, and the were all exciting tries. And yeah, young Danny Richardson orchestrated most of it. So I'm glad that I've got him in my dream team there.
yeah,
Um, you
good
know,
signing.
you got to be pleased when a Saints player does it for you, because picking him's a hard thing to get over. Um,
Yeah,
Alex Walmsley, David mentioned there, he picked up a concussion, didn't he? So I assume he'll be okay, but it was a pretty heavy knock. He looked absolutely out for the count.
yeah,
Um,
and but he also landed funny on his shoulder, I think, didn't he, as well?
well, yeah, it looked like maybe a nerve type situation, because he was holding his arm and his wrist and his shoulder. It did look like a weird bang. It might take a bit of massaging out or that sort of
Yeah,
thing, as well as the concussion protocol, I think.
yeah. So it'd be interesting to see if he's fit to play.
It's Leeds, isn't it, this week? Saints Leeds this week,
It
so
is. That's Friday, isn't it?
that is the
Yeah.
case, yeah. Warrington do only score from kicks, pretty much, this year, so I don't know what they're going to do to address that, because neither of the halfbacks looked particularly threatening for most of this game. They keep making mistakes going up the field. If they don't make a break around dummy half, I don't see them making a break. Um, Saints, on the other hand, threats all over the park, isn't there?
Yeah, there are. And I was just thinking about the Warrington player that picked up the injury. Um,
Oh, Johnson.
no, no, no. Is it Ty Godson? Oh, I can't.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
centre.
Bryson Goodwin, yeah.
That's him. Yeah, because he looked threatening. Certainly when they played at our place. So if his has got an injury that's going to last any length of time, that won't be good for them either.
Yeah, but I do really like young Toby King, and he scored a try in this one,
Yeah,
and I
he
think
did.
he set up the Harvey Livette try as well with a good quick piece of passing play there. So it's good to see him getting his chance back in the side,
Yeah,
because that's another young centre who's had a few injuries in the last year or so. Um,
yeah.
I mean, who would have been your man of the match out of those Saints attacking weapons? Because there's Richardson, there's Percival, there's Barber all to pick from.
Well, Barber wasn't one of their four, was he? Um,
What do you mean? Oh, one of the Sky Sports legends
yeah,
for.
yeah, one of the acceptable
Oh,
players to pick.
I can't remember. I voted for Luke Thompson as man of the match personally, because I thought everything that came off it from all these star players that got the mentions for the man of the match were all came off Luke Thompson being absolutely the best forward on the pitch by. I mean, Cooper was really good, and he's been really good for Warrington, but he can't do it all on his own. Hill isn't being good enough. Thompson was
No,
incredible.
he
Me and
was.
Joshua
Yeah,
were well on the Thompson hype train.
yeah. Yes, founder members of the Luke Thompson club.
I'm not a fan. Don't don't start throwing that kind of shit around. We can't get too. Let's not go too far. Let's not go nuts. Yeah, but sorry, I cut you off. Who would have been your man of the match then?
I think probably Danny Richardson. Everything just seemed to go through him.
That sort of individual piece of skill from a young player, the Percival hat trick try. I mean,
I thought that last Percival try I thought was a really, really selfless, well set up, just piece of brilliance that you like to see.
I, th- I think Danny Richardson is quite a cocky player as well, and even in his interview at the end of the game, I sort of thought there's a bit of cockiness about him, and I thought I wouldn't have liked going to school with him. I would have thought he was a right arse, I'm sure. But
Yeah, I'd switched off by that point.
but watching him play rugby, you can't take away from just how talented he is.
Yeah.
Right, so we've done enough Danny Richardson hype. Have we talked about Ben Barber going back to Wales? Because I'm almost certain that that's going to happen. Cronulla want him back. I don't know how he feels about that, with them maybe not defending him too fiercely when he got his ban, but we'll see how that goes. Is there anything else that you feel needs picking up on in this one, Sarah?
Well, I noticed Saints fell into their old trap of after the Levette try, the players storming the referee to demand he went to the big screen to check it out.
And Wilkin wasn't even on the pitch, and they did that. It's
Well, yeah,
remarkable.
exactly. They must practice it at training.
I haven't. I'll be fair here. I haven't noticed them being worse than anyone else other than Wilkin. But then people, people in glass houses and all that. We have Sam Tompkins on our team.
It was the number of them. There must have been 4 or 5 of them, and I did think.
Well, I don't. I think they were wanting to talk about what Tom Lynham was up to. Tom Lynham got credit with a try assist, and I think that was on the I know that was on the first try, but I was wondering if he was going to get 2 try assists because he did kind of block off the defender. Not that the defender was ever going to get there, and sense was seen on this video referee referral that if the defender's not going to get there, don't rule it out for obstruction.
Yeah, maybe they were fed up of the 24 hours of bashing from the previous night.
There you go. Yeah, at least they learn if they make a mistake. That's a positive. Uh, Not for you. Came too late, but there you go. Right, on the stats. Saints made 12 more positive impact plays. That's breaks, busts, and offloads, and 22 fewer negative impact plays than their host. So they were basically a lot better. So despite only a 3-1 count in clean breaks, they had 242 more meters and scored 5 tries to 2. Saints also had a 2% better team tackle success and only conceded 6 penalties to Wire's 11. I mean, that's just doing everything right across the board from Saints.
Yeah.
Winners individually was Mark Percival, 3 tries, 1 try assist, 9 tackles, 2 clean breaks. James Roby continues to be outstanding. His try was a little bit soft from the Warrington perspective, but 1 try and 128 metres for the best player to have played in Super League, I think. Danny Richardson with a try and 2 try assists, and Luke Thompson 145 metres for the losing Warrington side. Mike Cooper had 46 tackles and 116 metres and snuck in with 3 successful offloads too, so a really complete game from him. Darryl Clark, 55 tackles, is really doing the mate stats in the tackling ranks this year.
He is.
Tom Lynham, a try assist.
Up to do.
Yeah, sorry.
Danny Houghton's going to have to do some serious making up tackling.
Oh, his title's in serious threat. Tom Lynham, a try assist and 101 metres, sneaks in there as well. There was another game on Friday night. This is something I don't get. Widnes were playing at the same time as Warrington. If you're a floating fan in that area and just like go and watch Rugby League, you can't go and watch both games if they're on the same time. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, they fell to the Huddersfield Giants. It was 28-16 the final score. It was 14-0 at half time. So Widnes pretty desperate in this one, in front of a very poor 4,298, refereed by Ben Thaler. We had a few fan reviews on this one.
Yep. Paul O'Brien, POB 1976, says, awful from the Vikings. First half was one of the worst halves of rugby I've seen in a long time. Too many handling errors and penalties conceded. No arguments about the sending off. Looked like a cannonball tackle from where I was sat. Played for about 10 minutes after the sending off, but that was it. Referee didn't have one of his best games, but we can't blame the referee for an awful performance.
Yeah, and on that sending off, he's got, I think, a 2-game penalty notice, but I keep spotting these at the start of the week and then missing out what actually happens when people contest these, because people are contesting these penalty notices, and I thought people would just accept them and take the bans, but it doesn't seem to be happening. So we'll see what Wellington Albert does, but it did look like a cannonball tackle. It didn't look like the worst cannonball tackle I've seen. I've got to say, but he's such a big bloke that a cannonball tackle from someone that size is dangerous.
Yeah. Watching it on the highlights, I suspected it was a cannonball. That was the only thing I could put my finger on it being.
Yeah, and he came in sort of from the side rather than from behind the legs, so that's where you start getting into injury causing potential. Alan Witts, who is a Huddersfield fan, said, "A nice victory for the Giants, who got off to the best possible start, capitalising on a Hanbury mistake from a high bomb. On a miserable night, there were a number of handling errors on both sides. Widnes didn't seem to get the rub of the green, but didn't help themselves. The Giants could have scored plenty more, but for poor decision making close to the line. Widnes mounted a comeback, but the start cost them."
Yep. And then Mark W., who's also a Huddersfield fan, says Widnes didn't do themselves any favours with a few daft penalties and plenty of handling errors, but the Giants looked much more switched on in attack this week. There was a bit of a fight back after the red card, but we controlled things well and Bruffy's kicking was great.
Yeah, I mean, that was the story of the game, really well summed up. Widnes only came to play when they had a man dismissed. I mean, and they conceded a try quickly after the sending off to go to 24-0, and then they started playing. I thought Matt Whitley's try showed just how much skill he's got and why he's in the Knights squad, because he scored a try from nowhere. Really, he really did, you know, cut them apart all by himself and from a difficult position. And for a back rower to show that much pace off the mark, and he's got the strength. Obviously, I think he's a quality player.
Yeah.
Um, I, and then, oh, I missed this. That Ryan Hinchcliffe got a sin bin. I'll have to update my stats on that. I didn't realise that had happened. I'm just looking at the run through of what went on here. So it was 12 men apiece for the last 10 minutes.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know that. Did you know
No, I missed that as well.
that? There you go. Did you see the highlights of the first couple of tries? Because they were pretty bad from a Widnes perspective, weren't they?
Yes, yeah. I was surprised by this result actually. I thought Widnes were going to beat Huddersfield.
Well,
Or certainly it was going to be a lot closer.
yeah, I think most of us had. This was one of the two games that I tipped wrong this week. One that Alan tipped wrong. So we'll get to that in a bit. But he's got you back
Yeah.
in contention for the guests versus the main host battle on the Super League pod. Did you catch anything else from this one? Was there anything you wanted to note before we do the stats?
No, I don't think anything that's not been covered, no.
Oh, I just can't believe Hanbury was so far away from that first ball. It just disappoints me when he does badly, because I've been such a cheerleader of his over the years.
Yeah.
And one thing that leads to actually is the main stat that made it clear just how this result went as it did. A 19-11 error count against Widnes, making 19 errors at home. Just, it's a horrible thing for your fans to see. The other thing that kind of summed it up that didn't quite get covered, and I thought Paul would have covered it, was just before the half time. Like, basically with seconds left, Widnes got a penalty, so opted to go for the two, and Tom Gilmore missed from right in front of the sticks, and he hasn't been missing anything from anywhere really. His kicking's been really good this season. He missed from right in front of the sticks, and that was just showed how like they just weren't up for it. So the errors and stuff like that were a really big factor against Widnes. Huddersfield did edge the meters just about, but other than that and the errors stat, there's not actually much to explain the scoreline as it was, because Widnes actually had 5 breaks to 3 from Huddersfield and had a huge 5.2% better team tackle success. So you wouldn't expect to be on the losing end of those things unless you make 19 errors.
Yep.
Individually, Jerry McGilvray trying 116 metres. Lee Gaskell, his centre, had that try assist, 7 tackle busts and 104 metres. Seb Ikehefo gets his first stats roundup mention, I think, this year, with 117 metres. And Paul Clough, who's really impressing at the moment, 111 metres. He's a player that we spoke a little bit about last week, me and Alan, because he saw him when he was at Bradford as well. But he's not a player you expect to jump off the stat sheet, is he?
No, there's some significant meters, aren't there?
For a player who I never really thought was up to much,
Yeah.
it's good to see that he's reinventing himself and making a go of it at Huddersfield. In the losing side, Matt Whitley with a try, 51 tackles, 15 of which were marker tackles. There was a lot of a lot of hard work. He's a small, undersized second rower at the moment, because he's only 22ish, 21, 22.
Yeah.
Chris Houston, 42 tackles. He's at the other end of the age spectrum. Kristen Inu with 138 metres and 2 clean breaks. But the fact that he didn't capitalise at all on either of those clean breaks shows that it wasn't his night. Reece Hanbury,
No.
1 try assist, 7 tackle busts and 100 metres, but probably will be remembered most for absolutely whiffing on that ball early on to let the Huddersfield Giants take an early lead, and that they never gave up.
No, yeah. Chris Houston 42 tackles, none of which were on the referee.
um, okay, we move on to Saturday's game where I think maybe there was a risk of some of the Hull KR fans and maybe the Hull KR